So hello everyone, this is lecture 13 for the electricity and magnetism. In the last lecture we were studying the boundary conditions for the electric field, potential and the displacement vector. So we already seen the E and V. I told you that electric field, the perpendicular component will change, means those are not continuous. And we get this relation for the perpendicular components of electric field, sigma by epsilon naught. And we get that parallel components of electric field will remain same. And for the potential will remain same in the upside and the downside of the interface of the two mediums. And today, and also we get this relation to find the surface charge density if some potential is given outside, so you can find the surface charge density using this relation. So we discussed all these things. So today let's see the boundary condition for the displacement vector. So similarly, as we find for the electric field, we can also find the boundary for this also. So if you have some D field, so you have the perpendicular component and the parallel components. So you know this relation, that is D dot dA is equal to that is total free charge enclosed. So we'll again use this condition, means we will assume some cuboidal surface. Okay, so this is your interface, and there will be cuboidal surface, and this is area A and perpendicular component. So D1 with A, and also D2 with A will give you minus D2A and D1A. All other components of the cuboid will give you 0, same as we did in the electric field. So it will be D1A minus D2A equal to sigma A, because surface charge density multiplied by the area will give you total charge. Then area will cancel out and you will get this relation. So again, the perpendicular components of the displacement vector is also not continuous, okay, because they are differential with sigma f. Now if the surface charge density is 0 for this interface, then we will see that d1 equal to d2. So this is a special case when the surface charge density is 0, and it implies that we know this d is nothing but epsilon e. So epsilon 1 e1 perpendicular component equal to epsilon 2 e2 perpendicular. So this is a very important relation, you must remember. There is a many questions can be framed from this. Now let's see for the parallel components. Now for that we must know that D displacement vector is nothing but epsilon E plus P. Now del cross D will give you, this will give you 0, del cross E, then it will remain with del cross P only. Now using the Stokes theorem you can write the line integral, so it will be D dot dl and P dot dl. Now again you will take some line, means here line integral of this small 2D surface, then it will give you D1 parallel minus D2 parallel as we did there, because only this line and this line will give you component, and this will give you d1 and this will give you minus d2. And similarly for P also, this dl will give you this component with this also and this, so we'll get these terms. So these parallel components are also not same throughout the interface, means in this medium and 1 and 2. So that's why we'll say that both components are varying, means these are not continuous, both are not continuous. But in the special case when this del cross P is 0, then this will be 0 and d1 parallel will be equal to d2 parallel. So these are the special cases, not in general, means they are not continuous in general. Okay, so you must remember the these boundary conditions for the displacement vector. These are very important. Let's see some questions related to them. So let's say there is some interfaces given. This is your interface, and this is medium 1 and this is medium 2, and it is given the relative permittivity of this one, means the permittivity of this first medium is epsilon 1, and for the second medium it is epsilon 2. So and electric field is coming in this theta 1 angle, and this is your perpendicular sum to this interface. So it is making theta 1 angle, electric field is making theta 1 angle with this perpendicular vector, and this is making, means E2 is making theta 2, means this is coming electric field like this and going to the E2 like this. So this is making this theta 1 theta 2, and this is your interface between this medium 1 and medium 2. Now we need to find the tan theta 1 divided by tan theta 2. So it is asked directly in the paper that find the value of this. So tan theta 1 is nothing but E1 parallel divided by E1 perpendicular, and tan theta 2 is nothing but E2 parallel divided by E2 perpendicular. So this will be your condition. Now we know that in the boundary condition E1 parallel remains same as the E2 parallel, so these will be equal and cancel out, so it will be E2 perpendicular divided by E1 perpendicular. Now see, this is given, if this is given that surface charge density is 0 of this interface, then this relation will apply, means this d1 will be equal to d2, means d1 perpendicular will be equal to d2 perpendicular, and this will equal to this. So from here we can find the value of E2 perpendicular divided by E1 perpendicular, that is epsilon 1 divided by epsilon 2. So in place of this we will write epsilon y divided by epsilon 2. So tan theta 1 divided by tan theta 2 will be equal to this, and this is simply ratio of permittivity of the two mediums. And this is a special case when this surface charge density is 0, only then this will be applied. Now let's say this interface is like this. Now let's make it like this. Interface is like this, and this is your perpendicular. So now interface is like this, and this is your perpendicular. So and now you need to find the value of this tan alpha divided by tan beta. and this we know this tan theta divided by tan theta 1 tan theta 2 will be equal to this epsilon 1 divided by epsilon 2. So if you now find this tan alpha by tan beta, that will be equal to epsilon 2 by epsilon 1. So you must remember this. Now interface is like this, and this is your perpendicular. So we can find this relation very easily, because tan theta 1 divided by tan theta 2, this will give you simply epsilon 1 divided by epsilon 2 from here. Now this theta 1 is nothing but 90 minus alpha, and this beta means theta 2 is nothing but 90 minus beta. So this will give you cot alpha and cot beta. This will give you 1 upon tan alpha, 1 upon tan beta. So tan beta by tan alpha will be equal to epsilon by epsilon 2. So tan alpha by tan beta will be equal to epsilon 2 by epsilon 1. So you must remember this relation, that if this interface is like this, then this angle ratio will be given by 2 by 1. And if it is this type of interface, then it will be f1 by 2, epsilon by epsilon 2. So must remember these relations. So let's see one more question. So this is given, means electric field, this is your interface. Interface is given in the xy plane. This is x, y and z. So interface is in this xy plane, and there is electric field in this minus of z, and electric field in the plus of z, and there are two mediums. Here is the medium and here is the medium, and the relative permittivity of this first medium is 2 and second is 3, and this is your interface in the xy plane. And E1 is given, field in the first medium is given, that is 2x cap plus 3y cap minus 4z cap. And we need to find the field in this second medium. So how can we find? See, we know the parallel components of the electric field will be lying in the xy plane, and we know the electric field in the means parallel components won't change. So what will the components which are lying in the xy plane, that is 2x cap plus 3y cap. So this will remain same always. So we know interface is xy plane, so E1 parallel will be 2x cap plus 3y cap, and this must be equal to E2 parallel. So for the E2, we know these two components, these will remain same for this also, but this perpendicular component will change, because only the perpendicular component of the E1 means electric field is changing. That's what we proved just earlier. And this is given that surface charge density is 0, then this relation will be valid. E2 epsilon 2 equal to epsilon 1 E1 perpendicular. From there you can find the perpendicular component of E2, and E1 perpendicular component we already know, that is minus 4z cap. So this will be equal to 2 by 3. This is given epsilon 2, and means you can find epsilon r. So epsilon 1 will be equal to epsilon r and epsilon naught. So this will be your 2 epsilon naught and 3 epsilon naught and minus 4z cap. This is the E1 perpendicular. Now this will cancel out a bit, minus 8 by 3 z cap. So the perpendicular component of this in the second medium is nothing but, in place of minus 4 z cap, it will be minus 8 by 3, and the xy will remain same. So this is the easy way to solve. So you must remember these concepts, only then you can solve very easily. Let's see one more question. A dielectric interface has the equation, means dielectric and free space. There is this interface, in this side is dielectric and this side is free space, and this is the equation of that plane, which of the interface. This is the equation of interface, that is the plane again. 3x plus 2y plus z equal to 12m. M is some constant. The origin, the side of the interface, means the origin, means origin of the coordinate system is lying on that side of the interface where the dielectric is. Has means you have the dielectric and free space, so dielectric and on that side where origin of the coordinate system lies. And relative permittivity of that medium is given by 3, and we know for the free space that is 1. For relative permittivity is 1, and E1 is given, that is 2x cap plus 5z cap volt per meter, and we need to find the E2. So this is something like this. This is your interface, and this equation is given, so we can find the equation of the plane, that is just divided by 12. It will give you x by 4 plus y by 6 plus z by 12. So these are the intercepts on the x, y and z axis. So in the downside you have the origin, and that is the dielectric medium, and the upper side you have the free space. So you need to find the E2. So how can you find? First you need to find the perpendicular component of this interface. Only then you can see that, then you need to find the E1 means component of E1 which is perpendicular to this, and that's the only you can find when you have the perpendicular of this plane. You just do dot product with E1, you will get the perpendicular component, and then you can find the change by using the relation. We already proved that what will the E2 perpendicular component, and then you can write the E2. So let's see how can we do that. First, to find the perpendicular of this surface, what we need to do, we need to take the gradient of the surface, and the equation of the surface is given, so gradient will give you perpendicular component to this. And to find the unit vector perpendicular to this, just divide by the magnitude of that vector or the gradient. So the gradient will give you 3x cap plus 2y cap plus z cap, because this is 3x, so del by del x will give you 3, and del by del y will give you 2, del by del z will give you 1. So it will be 3 to 5, and means it will be in the vector form. So gradient, this is the gradient of phi, 3x cap plus 2y cap plus z cap, and this is the magnitude of this 3 3 9 2 3 4 and 1 will give you for under root 14. So this is the unit vector perpendicular to this surface. Now dot product of E1 with that perpendicular vector will give you the magnitude of E1 perpendicular to this. So that's how we will check the perpendicular component of electric field. So E1 dot n cap, and in the direction of n cap will give you this. So now you have the perpendicular component of the electric field, and so this is this. Now E tangential means E parallel. We have the perpendicular component. Now parallel will be E total. T total is this minus the perpendicular will give you E parallel. So E1 minus E perpendicular. So E1 is given. E1 is this. So this minus this will give you this thing. So and see, this is your parallel component, so it will also same for the second one, for the means second medium in the free space, it will be equal to ET2 because this is the parallel component, and the surface charge density is given 0, so we can find the perpendicular component also in the E2. E1 we already know, epsilon 1 we already know, epsilon 2 is already know, that is free space, that is epsilon naught, and from it epsilon r is 3 and epsilon naught. This is the perpendicular component, we already find it this, and now this will be equal to epsilon naught E2. We need to find this E2, so from here this will cancel out and E2 will be this. Now you have the perpendicular component of the second field and you have the parallel component of the second field. So the total component is nothing but sum of the tangential and the perpendicular. So ET2 plus EN2, this will give you E2, complete E2. So that is the easy way, you must know if you study the vector. So let's see one more thing today. Field outside the conductor. So this is some conductor, and we know inside the conductor electric field is 0, and there is some only all the charges will remain on the surface only. So the E1 minus E2 is nothing but sigma by epsilon naught. We already proved this boundary condition, n cap, and E2 is nothing but sigma by epsilon naught n cap. So this will be always in perpendicular direction. So just magnitude will be sigma by epsilon. You must remember that. And we find that sigma can be found it, that is equal to minus, if potential is given outside, then you can find the surface charge density at any point, that will be minus epsilon naught del V by del n. So let's find if there is some means, we have this surface and this is the surface means particular for some small surface. You need to find the force on this area, means force per unit area. What will the force per unit area on this surface with surface charge density sigma? So force per unit area will be given by sigma E, because sigma is nothing but charge per unit area. So charge per unit area, charge multiplied by E will give you force, and force per unit area. So force per unit area will be this. So if you take any small particular area and you need to find force on that surface, so what will be that force? That force will be only, let me tell you, if this is your complete surface and you need to find force on this surface, so that will be given by the force by other region, means not by this region. This force on this region will be only by this other surface. Okay, and we call that E average, and E average is nothing but force due to the other surface than this. So we can prove this also. You know this sigma by 2 epsilon naught because of this surface electric field, and for this in the downward direction it is again sigma by 2 epsilon naught, and E other. So for the E above, if we find E other plus sigma by 2 epsilon naught n cap, this will be your total field, and for the below it will be this minus, because this is n cap direction, so it will be minus n cap sigma by 2 epsilon naught, and total average will be E above plus E below plus divided by 2 will give you E other, and these will cancel out and it will give you E other only. So E average is nothing but E other, means whatever force this area will feel, particular region, will be due to the other region than this. So this force will be only by this region, and we call that E other or E average. So force per unit area, any area on the force on this per unit area, that will be because of other region. So sigma E average, and E average is nothing but E other, equal to sigma E above plus E below, and that is 0 plus sigma by epsilon naught. You know this value, and this will give you sigma square by 2 epsilon naught n cap. Now we know this sigma value, that will be from here, sigma will be E epsilon naught, and this E is we already know that is the outside field. So this will be 1 upon 2 epsilon naught, sigma square is epsilon naught square, E square, and this is nothing but pressure, because force per unit area is nothing but pressure, so we can write it as pressure also. So pressure equal to 1 upon 2 epsilon naught E square. So must remember this value. The question can be asked directly from here. So let's see one example based on this. So a metal sphere of radius r carries a total charge q. What is the force of repulsion between the upper and the lower hemisphere? So you have a complete sphere and that carries q charge, and now it is divided into half. and now you have the two hemispheres, so there will be a repulsive force from the downward sphere to the downward hemisphere to the upward hemisphere. So what will be that repulsive force we need to find? So see, as I told you, the force felt by this complete hemisphere will be due to other reason. So if you find the force on this complete hemisphere, that will be due to this complete half hemisphere, the other one. So let's find, and that field due to this other hemisphere is called the E other. So E inside is 0 and E outside is nothing but, if total charge is Q, that will be Q by 4 r square. So we need to find the E other, that is equal to E average. So E average is nothing but sum of this divided by 2. So that will be equal to Q by 2 4 pi epsilon r square. So this will be E average or E other, means field due to this one. So you need to find on this, so this will be equal to this. Now sigma is nothing but charge per unit area, that is Q by 4 pi r square. Now force on this is nothing but sigma multiply E average, and E average is nothing but E other, and means that is force, means electric field due to this other hemisphere. So sigma multiply E. Now this is the force per unit area on this sphere, then this hemisphere. Now to find the force on this complete hemisphere, you need to integrate to the complete area of this hemisphere. So we'll integrate for the complete area dA, and dA for this means spherical symmetry is nothing but r square sin theta d theta d phi, and theta is going from 0 to pi by 2 and phi is going from 0 to 2 pi. So it will be this. Now this Fz means we need to take the Fz component, force per unit area. So that will be E cos theta, whatever electric field it is applying on this, it will be E cos theta in this z direction. So this is your electric field. Now the cos theta component will give you this z direction, means force we are finding the repulsive force in the this direction, z cap direction. So now this is a simple calculation. You have the Q by 4 pi r square multiply this, means from here this E will give you this E cos theta, and this is your dA, this is your sigma, and Ez is nothing but this cos theta multiply r square sin theta d theta d phi. So just you need to solve this integral. So we can take this Q square, and this is 4 pi r square 4 pi square, so we can take Q by 4 pi square ka whole square, multiply this d phi will give you 2 pi, and you will remaining with 1/2 epsilon only. Integrate this sin theta cos theta and d theta 0 to pi by 2. Now divide by 2 multiply by 2, this will give you sin 2 theta, and integrate this complete, it will give you 1/2, and now this will be 1/2, this 2 will cancel out this, so you will remain with pi r square, and this is nothing but sigma, and it will be sigma square pi r square divided by 2 epsilon naught. So this will be your force in the z direction on this hemisphere. Okay, so I hope now you understand this concept, the E other or the E average, that what is the force per unit area, or any area you can find. Now for any area you will find the force that will be due to the other reason than this. Okay, and E other, that is called the E average. So that's it for today. Thank you everyone.